Kia ora, good morning. I just want to document this dream, but I don't think I'm going to decipher it because I feel like it was personal for me personally. I'll let you decipher it, but I don't think I'm going to decipher it, but I want to record it because I want to remember this forever. So I had a dream that I was stranded on a desert island. There was nothing on it but sand and a couple of trees. It was big enough that you could run around with the kids. But there was it was basically just like a pure white sand, pure blue water, like water so blue you could see through it. Sandbar that was big enough that we were there for the day. We'd sailed over from the main island. It was definitely somewhere like the Caribbean. It was definitely somewhere like in the Caribbean. It's a lot. It's a lot to take on. This is why I have to record it, because I want to remember this forever. I want to remember this moment forever. And I was on the island with Prince Charles and Princess Diana in the very, very beginnings of their either marriage or their relationship. I feel like it was like their honeymoon or something. Like it felt really, really special to be there. They were so happy. They were young. They were together, but they had their grandchildren with them. I know there was definitely Prince Louis and Prince Charlotte. I don't know about Georgie, but I was so stunned by the whole thing. I seemed kind of in shock that I was even there, but I was. It was like it's like it was a real privilege for me to be there, witnessing such a personal, private, intimate moment between Prince Charles and Princess Diana. They were very young, so it was either, just before they got married or just after they got married, but they were happy and they were playing with the children. Now, I don't know if in the dream the children were Charlotte and Louis and all that, but they looked like Charlotte and Louis and that, and there was like a rocky bit, and it was just, oh yeah, I was watching Queen Elizabeth. She didn't have shoes on. She had, but she was playing wheelbarrows with the children. And I don't know if you know what wheelbarrows are, but it's when you put your hands on the ground and someone lifts your feet and you start walking, and they're holding your feet and they're holding you like a wheelbarrow. And she was running around with no shoes on, with our boy, and they were laughing, and they were having a grand time, and she was trying to show Diana how fast she could run. And I just remember thinking, my God, she can run fast and bare feet on like rocks and stuff, because there was like a little rocky bit as well. And thinking, like, how did I get here? Like, are we okay? Because like I couldn't see how we got to this island, and just sort of thinking, like, are we okay? How did we get here? Seeing perfectly well the mainland and thinking, oh, well, maybe we swam over. And then, but I wasn't scared, I wasn't afraid, I was more like just in shock that I was witnessing such a private, personal, intimate moment away from the people, away from the media, Like, nobody knew we were there or nobody cared. They were just like normal people. Just normal people. Like, you wouldn't have known that this was Princess Diana and Prince Charles and the Queen of England, and they just were like normal. But it was the fact as well that they'd let me be a part of such an intimate moment. And then I turn around and Diana's carrying um, picnic baskets back to this boat. And I was like, that's how we got to the island. We came on a boat. There was like a little ramp bit that was down on the water, and she was taking baskets, like the picnic baskets and that, like we were packing up to go back to the main island, which wasn't very, very far. Like, you could have swam it. But they took their little boat, and she was going into the little ramp bit. It kind of seemed like a really posh, bigger version of like a um like a barge, like the ones they have on, like a canal boat, kind of like a bigger, like a quite a lot bigger, but not huge. It was big enough that because she was going when she was going up to the ramp, she wasn't going on top of like the deck. She was going into the guts of the boat. But I knew that what she was going into, it was like spacious and luxurious, and she could stand. She didn't have to duck to go into it. So that's how big it was. But it wasn't, um, like the kind of boats and ships and that you would expect to see a queen on. It was like a private, little, intimate, so, it was big enough that it obviously allowed a few people on it, because I was on that boat with Prince Charles, Princess Diana, Queen Elizabeth, and these kids. That was our boat. That was the one we'd come on. I'm going to get emotional because I was still in shock that I was allowed to be a part of it. And then I turned around, and Queen Elizabeth was putting on her little flat shoes because we were all getting ready to go. And bloody Queen Victoria was standing there in an even bigger boat. She was standing on the deck, and I was looking straight at her. And she looked at me, and she bowed her head. She nodded, like she bowed, she lowered her head. She had no expression on her face other than she looked grateful. And I curtsied. And she sort of did this thing with her hand as if to say, "Don't." And then she bowed her head again. And the man she was with, who may have been Prince Philip, I'm not sure, or Prince Albert, I'm not sure, because he was wearing a suit of armour and he pulled the thing of his armour down over his face because he seemed very shy. He was. It's like, how can I explain it? He wanted it to be a moment between me and Queen Victoria. And then next thing you know, I'm standing in this old building in like an old town, like it wasn't York, but it was like an old town like York, or the old part of Worcestershire. I've never been able to Worcestershire or like Stratford upon Avon and that, like an old part of like an old town of England. And there was this man, and he was fixing a table leg of this antique table, and he was talking to this woman who apparently knew me because she was saying, I can't believe, she was saying to this man, I can't believe when we were growing up we used to call her names. And she said something, we used to call her blah, blah, blah. It was I can't remember what she said, but it had 3 words. And I just remember thinking, what a passive aggressive thing to say. It's like she was trying to make out like she was being sympathetic while putting in a dig to him in front of me, trying to make out like she was like on my side, but at the same time letting him know we didn't really like her. There's something weird about her. There was always something weird about her, sort of thing. Almost like she was jealous of the fact that I was having a laugh with this man. And I said to him, anyway, so as I was saying, I did all of this, I said, because with all my heart, with all my very best of my heart, I've always known that I need to save these children. And I said, and I'm doing all of this. The reason why I did all of this, the reason why I put myself through all of this, the whole reason why I have done all of this and lived all of this experience, and kind of looked at her as if to say, walking through the crap that people like her put me through growing up and all of that. And I put my hand on my heart and I said, it's for the children. And he said, I don't even know what to say. He said, but that's incredible. And he said, you can go now. He said, you go and do it. And then I walked out. I said goodbye to him. And he said to me, remind me to get your phone number before I go. And then I was walking down the street because I was going back to wherever it was I was going to. And, if you know England at all, with their tiny, tiny little old towns with their cobbled streets that thankfully they've closed off now to protect the roads because the cobbles and that are so old. But, with the footpaths that are so narrow that you couldn't walk abreast with people. You'd have to walk one in front of the other. And it started just pouring with rain. I mean, it was pouring. I love being out in the rain. I absolutely love being out in the rain. But this was rain that was so heavy, we needed to get shelter. And then next thing you know, I'm standing there with one of my former students, and she looked panicked and terrified. And I said to her, I said, are you thirsty? Shall we get a drink? Because we were going past this bar, and she was too afraid to go in. And the pub was called the Queen Victoria, and it was full of people, and all the lights were on. It was cozy, but I thought they were closed. I went to go in, and I thought the student had said it was closed. So she was just sitting on the porch in the downpour of rain, and the lady behind the bar said, are you coming in? And I said, is it open? And she said, well, yeah, for you. And in that moment I knew I was being told, you need to leave her outside, but you come in. And so it was like the lady behind the bar sort of looked at me as if to say, she's not allowed here. You're safe. She has to stay out in the rain. And I knew what she meant by that, and I thought, oh, okay. So I left her and went into the bar, And then all I know is that I was completely dry, and she was handing me a drink, and she said, "It's all right, you're safe here." And then I woke up. The student was Nikki, or Erica, or whatever name she goes by. She was the maid of honour at my wedding. Um, but the one thing I do have to say, just as I was waking up, I ended up going upstairs to the bar. There was an upstairs bit to the bar. I took my drink. She handed me the drink, and as I was going upstairs, I saw Vladimir Putin, and he was dressed in like a bear costume, and he had all these fake trees, and he had all these kids dressed in, it was like costumes, but it was like they had like green tea towels and green tablecloths and that wrapped around their neck, and it's like they'd made animal costumes out of the stuff they had around them, except for their face masks, which it just like covered the eye bit, and he had like a bear one on, and he was telling they were acting out some sort of Russian child's folklore, and he was putting on like a performance for the people that were drinking and eating upstairs, because I think they were serving food upstairs but just drinks downstairs, because there was tables and people were eating food, and I remember smelling like meat and onions, and yeah, he was putting on like this thing with the kids, teaching them, and I just remember thinking I didn't know that he's into that he would do that. And then I just felt, don't approach, just leave it, like just leave him. And and then that's when I sort of opened my eyes and heard the birds, and but it was like a very quick glimpse. It wasn't animosity or anything like that, like don't approach animosity. It was just like I didn't feel welcome. Not that I didn't feel welcome. It didn't feel right me approaching him. Rather, like with Queen Victoria and that, like it, because I was joking around with Queen Elizabeth and Prince Charles and Princess Diana on the beach, but I would never have approached Queen Victoria. I can't believe, even when I was standing there looking at her, making sure to remember everything she looked like, taking it all in, because I could not believe that I was seeing Queen Victoria. Like with my own eyes, she was standing there, and she bowed her head. She nodded, and I quickly curtsied, thinking, oh, and she sort of did this thing with her hand as if to say, don't, no, don't. And then she bowed her head again. She looked sad. She looked angry. She had no expression on her face, but the aura she was giving off, she was sad. She was angry. She was disappointed. She was resolute. She was stoic. But she seemed, when she bowed to me, she seemed grateful. Like she knew I'd saved her family. She was grateful that I'd saved her family. And that's why I was having this intimate moment with Queen Elizabeth and Charles and Diana. The fact that Vladimir was in the dream means that even Queen Victoria, not just Queen Elizabeth and Princess Diana, and obviously Prince Charles, But Queen Victoria is protective, is grateful, is um, on the side of Vladimir Putin. They're watching over him, which is why he was up in the building of Queen Victoria, of the pub, and not down the bottom. He was upstairs. So yeah, I know what it means, but I don't want to have to explain it because I just want to keep it as an intimate moment between. I want to say Queen Victoria and the British Empire. Maybe it was Barbados, because there has been that thing of that I told King Charles about in regards to Barbados. I don't know, but I know she was grateful, and I couldn't believe that Queen Victoria was the one that was like bowing her head to me. And I didn't even care about any of that. I just could not believe that I was standing there looking at Queen Victoria in the flesh. As true as I'm looking at my dressing gown on the door, she was standing right there. And I was trying to take it all in. I remember just thinking to myself, remember it, remember it, remember it, take it all in, remember this moment. It's not that I didn't care that I was in the company of Queen Elizabeth and Princess Diana, but they're kind of like my crew when it comes to, the codes and quantum magnetics and that. I'm used to them. They're my girls, you know. They're like we're like the three amigos together. We've worked so hard using my physics and quantum magnetics and that to stop a World War III, to protect the royal family, to bring peace to Great Britain, to protect Vladimir Putin, Russia and all of that. For well over a year. Well, I mean, Queen Elizabeth, it's been pretty much since I was locked up, but, Princess Diana, and that was whenever it was she left that message to Charles on X. But Queen Victoria, I was like, she was, I couldn't, I can't even, she was like a lot bigger than I expected her to be. But then she was on this massive boat, dressed in her Victorian clothing and that, whereas like the others were just dressed in normal clothes. She was in full colour. She was wearing like this really dark, deep, kind of blackish, royal blue Victorian dress. She had her hair in a bun. She had like a little sort of tiara thing, crown thing on her head. And when she bowed, she put her hands together, but down on her lap, but she was standing. And she bowed her head. And then I looked at the man, and he just pulled the thing down of his suit of armour, the visor thing down of his suit of armour, sort of like, this isn't about me, this isn't my moment. I think he had like a big moustache. I think I remember seeing a big moustache, so it might not have been. Did Prince Albert? Yeah, Prince Albert did have a moustache, eh? So it can't have been Prince Philip. Prince Albert did have a moustache, I think. But he pulled his visor down as if to say, this isn't about me. This isn't my moment. So, yeah, so I had to record it. I'll let you figure it out. It's pretty obvious, but I'm recording it for me, for my own personal documentation, because I don't think I will ever forget this moment as long as I live. But I want to remember this moment forever, as long as I live. because I just got blessed by Queen Victoria. And I wonder if that means that something I've done has gotten through to Prince Charles and I've saved the royal family, or I've helped protect the royal family. I wonder if I finally got through to him. I wonder if something I said has been proven, or I'm guessing this means Starmer's on his way out. Starmer's government are Pegasus. You know, I wonder if when you think of the British Empire, you think of Queen Victoria. So I've done something to help the British Empire, and she was coming to let me know that she was thankful. And when you think of the relationship that the British Empire has had with Indigenous people and everything that we lost to the British Empire, and yet here I am, I'm not even the head of my tribe. I'm like in the hierarchy of the Māori royalty of the Ngāti Raukawa tribe. I'm not the head of my tribe, my sister is. It goes from that, the eldest, and because my great grandmother was a Māori princess, and her grandmother was handed down. The royal bloodline is handed down on my side through the women, through the matriarchy, and so when my mum died, it's because my mum was the head of her family, the eldest. So it's my sister. She's the one who's supposed to be like, the chieftainess of the Ngāti Raukawa tribe. And, like with the whale rider thing I was talking about, it's been bestowed upon me in the realms of the spirits and ancestors. It's like they see me as the chieftainess. And so, like, I've been given the mana, I've been given the authority to represent the Ngāti Raukawa people. And it was like, in that moment, whatever had been broken between, at least I can't speak on behalf of all the other tribes of New Zealand, but with my ancestors, the Ngāti Raukawa people, and the British Empire, all was forgiven. Like, that was it. There was no more hate, animosity, anything like that. It's like she was bowing to me because she recognised that I was the chieftainess. Like, she saw me as an equal. And she understood that everything that I had sacrificed, everything that I had suffered, being tortured, being starved, being abused, being lied about, having everything stolen from me, having my reputation destroyed, having everything that I'd created stolen, the shadow banning. It's like she understood that I'd gone through all of that to save her empire, so that I could get to the children and save them as well. And I'd been given her blessing. So I think I'm literally about to find out I've gotten justice because of the fact that they wouldn't let Nikki come in. They'd left her out in the rain and she was terrified and she was forced to sit on that step in the pouring rain. But they were welcoming me in. And so also I think it means that they're saying that as long as Vladimir is in the bosom of the British Empire, him and Russia won't be touched. So there you go. there's been some massive karmic debt that has just been paid off between at least my tribe and the British Empire, but I would like to say the Indigenous people of New Zealand and the British Empire through something I've done involving Charles and Diana and Elizabeth. Now, if you look at it from the perspective of what I've done with quantum magnetics, I uncovered the murder of Queen Elizabeth. I uncovered the murder of Princess Diana and who was involved, protecting Prince Charles, protecting his name, protecting his honour, because remember he got the blame for Diana's death, and he got treated like crap when after, now that he's king. And then of course I uncovered the Pegasus thing using quantum magnetics, and I think it's saving the British Empire, because it looks like they were getting ready to make it look like it was like illegals out of control going on a gun-filled rampage, and they were going to Romonov the royal family, and or do the whole drop it from the skies Pegasus thing during like the trooping of the colours and all of that. I don't know if they were actually planning the attack then, with the guns and that then, but there was definitely going to be, Pegasus definitely involves dropping something from the sky to get all the veterans and, make people sick, and possibly, some sort of getting them with the AK-47s and stuff. Whatever it is I've done, I think if he doesn't already, he's about to. The king knows I was telling the truth, and what I've done using quantum magnetics is pretty big. And so Queen Victoria was letting me know she was grateful, like she saw me as an equal. They saw me as an equal. It's like they recognised that I was royalty too. I don't, you know what I mean? I'm just like a little barefoot islander girl. But it's like she knew that I'm the granddaughter of Te Raupraha, the most famous, respected New Zealand chieftain, and that I'm the granddaughter of the King of Munster, that I am the granddaughter of King Abdul al-Rashid and Harun al-Rashid of Egypt and Iran, and that I am the granddaughter by marriage, well, not granddaughter by marriage, but his King Robert the Bruce married into my ancestor married into the Robert the Bruce bloodline. My Fraser ancestor married the sister of King Robert the Bruce. However, the Fraser of Lovetts were already, counts and lords and chiefs and all of that. Sirs, they were knighted in that, in their own right, which is why, it was seen as quite a great thing for the Fraser of Lovetts to marry into the Bruce dynasty. So it's like they were recognising it in me. So, yeah. So something definitely is telling me I need to prepare myself for some shocking emotional moment, because I'm about to get some news that it's all over and I can finally go and protect the children. I can finally go and build my foundation, my art school, and I'm going to get my wish fulfillment with the blessing of the British Empire. I don't know how or anything like that, but yeah, anyway, I'm going to go and make myself a coffee. I never want to forget this as long as I live. I swear to God, she was real. She was right there and she was real. So anyway, I also have to go and put my bin out later on too, so I've got to pluck up the energy because my stomach, I've had my bag sitting there since yesterday morning. It's just lifting anything at the moment. It hurts to even lift my bottle of water, but there we go. I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō.